God created us for connection. And so even if I am in that fearful, avoidant space, there's a part of me. It might be buried deep, but there's always a part of me that is seeking connection. And if we can find someone with a secure attachment style, or if we can find someone who's just as interested in pursuing a secure attachment style, we can heal each other.
Welcome to Pod Classers. This is Life Together, Wisdom for Marriage, Singleness, and Relationships. I'm Dr. Melissa Ortiz-Berry.
And I'm Agam Ihianyigwe. Today we have Sarah Halstead. Sarah is a licensed counselor at CAFA, Christians as Family Advocates, and at Bushnell University. And Sarah will be talking with us about attachment styles and how they affect relationships.
Yeah, I fell in love with attachment styles when I was a graduate student at Bushnell in the clinical mental health counseling program. We took a class that talked about cognitive development of youth, and part of that was learning about this cool guy named Bowlby. And I'll talk about Bowlby a little bit later. But I think one of the things that really helped me with learning about attachment styles was I come from a family of 5 people that, for the most part, do life well together. We're good friends. But when I was in middle school, high school, my parents, like many other people experienced, split up and they divorced. And I had a hard time understanding why that would happen because when I looked at my parents, I saw 2 people who loved their kids a lot. I saw 2 people who were good friends. But what I later learned was I saw 2 people who were good friends, but who did not really know how to share and express love and support because of the way that they grew up, because of the way that they learned how to perceive themselves, perceive others, and therefore that tells me that the world is a certain way. And so I think when I was growing up, though I was very well loved and very well cared for, when I later got into life and was trying to do this thing called relationship with other people, I had a lot of anxious attachment, and we'll get to what that means. But basically, it kind of meant I was in the I love you, I hate you, don't leave me scenario of I would put in a lot of effort to chase down friends and people. And that in some ways put me in really lots of maybe emotionally dangerous places. It put me in spots where I was vulnerable with people who weren't interested in being vulnerable with me. In many ways, I probably ended up missing out on connections because I was focusing on a bunch of different relationships all over the place and trying to find a place to love and be loved back. And if we understand that from an attachment perspective, if we understand why I see the world that way, not only can I actually do something about it to navigate how I do relationships that are meaningful to me and try to make them the most that they could possibly be, but also I can heal my attachment style. If my attachment style is not a healthy one or not an ideal one, the good news is I can make it better, but I need it with other people. So I love that attachment style is one of those things that you can't do it on your own. You need one another, and that's what God tells us over and over and over and over again is that we were made for connection, we were made for community, we were made for relationship, and we truly have to do that well to be able to do life to the fullest. So, yeah, I really
Sarah,
like it.
can you help explain a little bit more like this attachment style thing? Like just break it down for us.
Yeah. So okay, do you want definitions or do you want history? Both
I
are
don't
fine.
know.
Maybe
Whatever
let's
you
So
think I
do
need.
we'll do
definitions.
definitions.
Let's
Okay,
just
so
jump
there's
in, yeah.
four there's four different attachment styles and they all kind of run on a spectrum. One spectrum is how anxious I am when it comes to getting connected to other people. How interested am I in actually being connected? Another one, so there's a spectrum of how interested I am in a relationship, and then there's another spectrum of how much is this relationship going to cost me. So a secure person walks in the world with very much like, yeah, I'm down to play. You want to hang out? Great. And if you don't want to hang out with me, guess what? That's fine because I'm just asking. I'm just inviting you into my life, hoping you'll invite me into yours. And if we are ships passing in the night, if all we ever do is a high five, a smile, a wave, that's fine. But I do that because I also know that someone's going to say, yes, I'm down to play with you. I will totally hang out with you. I'm confident in that. Securely attached people are me, glad to be me, and I'm really glad you're you. The next is preoccupied or anxiously attached person, those are kind of the I love you, I hate you, don't leave me people. They love relationship. They have a high desire for relationship. They tend to have a million friends, but lots of relationships don't go very deep because there's fear that you'll be left. There's fear that you'll be taken advantage of. There's fear that they won't love you as much as you love them. And so oftentimes anxiously attached people kind of they spend a lot of time seeking connection and not always able to make deep ones because they're just afraid that it's not going to work out.
So
Then,
in
oh,
in
yeah.
relationships, so I'm just trying to understand
hmm
a securely attached person in a dating relationship.
hmm
That might look like what? Like they're meeting somebody, and
Meeting
then like how
someone,
does that go down?
it could be you call me to tell me that you're going to be late, and then maybe you call me to tell me that you have to reschedule. And a securely attached person's like, hey, no problem. Life happens. Am I disappointed? Totally. Like securely attached people can be disappointed. They can question whether the person's being honest or not. But at the same time, like in some ways, a securely attached person is like, let's just reschedule. It's okay. Life happens. An anxiously attached person is like, well, why don't you love me? Why don't you want to hang out with me? Like what came up that's better than me? They start to spiral in devaluing self and kind of questioning it. The other thing could be like you tell me you're stuck at work. Well, I'll just show up at your work. I'll bring you dinner. We'll have a 15-minute date at the front door. Like, and though that could be like a cutesy romantic thing in a dating relationship, it also could be this person canceled because they're really busy at work and they kind of just need to get work done. So, but an anxiously attached person will kind of either seek that attention from that person and connection, or they might reach out to somebody else because they don't want to be alone. They don't want to be forgotten or set aside, if that kind of makes sense.
How does that work out in marriage? Like it's nothing but interruptions and distractions and like, oh, bumps in the road, right? Like you
Yeah.
got to roll with that. But so how does that look like in marriage? What does that look like?
I think it causes a lot of conflict and a lot of misunderstandings. And with an anxiously attached person, it can lead to a lot of uh, I think unspoken hurt because you don't want it to get worse. There's fear in the conflict because conflict means we're falling apart. Conflict means that this isn't going so well and that you don't want me or don't need me. And so
Mm.
I think it ends up either lots of arguments and misunderstandings or lack of conflict, but lack of conflict does not mean peace. Lack of conflict does not mean connection. And so it ends up there can be like an emotional ravine that's created because someone's giving 100 a million% because they just want to be loved and cared for. And the other person's like, can you just really, I just need a few minutes. So like in an argument, an anxiously attached person might be like, well, I just need you to, I need you to talk it through. I need you to stay. I need you to stay. And someone else might just need some space. They might need a walk around the block to compose themselves. They might need more than 30 seconds to think of how they're going to respond when you're solving a problem or trying to make a big decision. And an anxious person just wants it right here, right now, because I want to know we're okay. And a secure person is able to tell that person, hold, let's take a breath. Like we're in it. We just need a minute. But then there's two other attachment styles that are kind of similar. One is dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidant. A dismissive person kind of could care less if you hang around because they're just not going to spend time with you. They're me, myself, and I is just fine. A fearful avoidant person has super, super high anxiety that this relationship is not only going to cost me something, but it's going to hurt me. And it's that me, myself, and I is best. So a dismissive avoidant and a fearful avoidant person in conflict, they're the ones they stonewall. They're the ones that get really cold shoulders. Um, they might be the ones like a dismissive avoidant could just say really painful words and kind of say to heck with you and I'm out of here and I'm going to be gone. Yeah, so it's a little bit the way that an insecure attached person might respond looks a little bit different depending on where they fall on those spectrums of low avoidance, high anxiety, low anxiety about a relationship going well. But at the end, it's they just have a hard time connecting because there's different needs that aren't being met when conflict comes up, if that kind of makes sense.
It sounds like you're describing a grid. So
hmm
low avoidance or high avoidance, low anxiety, high anxiety. So the secure is low avoidant and also low anxiety.
Yeah,
The
a secure.
anxious is
Hmm.
low avoidance but high anxiety. Am I
Hmm.
getting it?
Yeah,
Then dismissive avoidant is high avoidant, low anxiety.
you can tell you're a college
And
professor. You know.
oh no, I'm just trying to make sense of it in my head. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
And
can
then a
you
fearful avoidant is high anxiety and high
and
avoidance. And
high
if we have
avoidant.
little notes or whatever that works for an image, I can send that to so that you guys can see that too for people who need to see a picture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that
would
would be
be
helpful.
great. Well,
Yeah.
we'll put that in the link. So I asked about an example in say a dating relationship. Can you give me a little example for each of those two?
In dating relationships with people who are avoidant, they tend to be withdrawing. So when it comes to conflict, when something comes up, they might decide that, okay, like I'm not going to spend time with you. I'm not going to go deeper with you. So it could be like someone wants to do a get to know you date. Like say it's not just coffee, it's not just dinner. It's a we're going to go do an escape room and we're going to learn how we solve different problems together. An avoidant person might not like that date and might try to get out of it because they don't really want to be known. There's fear in being known and there's fear in knowing others. And so sometimes avoidant people will set up really rigid boundaries, which also can kind of make them look a little bit flaky because those boundaries are ones they keep to themselves. Because if I let you in, then you know something about me, and I don't want you to know things about me. Um, yeah, I think that's a big thing. Sometimes they also could be in a dating relationship, the avoidant people could also be the ones who are like, "Hey, I'll call you." And it's 2 weeks later that they respond to you. And it's not because they're not interested, it's because they tend to be nervous when it comes to making connections with other people because that has not gone well for them in the past. They've had to figure out how to do life on their own. Fearful attached persons looks really similar. The biggest difference I think with fearful people, sometimes people think that fearfully attached people are red flags for being abusers in relationships, and that is not true. But what it is true is that fearful people have really rigid boundaries and you can't cross them. And if you cross my boundaries, I'm going to get pretty upset. So it could be, I don't want you coming to my house before 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you knock on my door at 3:30. Well, why the heck are you here? And it's because they have a boundary set up that they need honored to feel safe. And it could be, maybe they had a bad experience at McDonald's with a different relationship. They're like, we're never going to McDonald's. And then you're, coming home from a concert or something like that. And you're like, let's just go to McDonald's. Like, I told you I don't like McDonald's. Like they can come across really aggressive, but it's because they're afraid. And I think because of that, sometimes people, when they're learning about attachment styles and they hear about some characteristics of fearful people and how rigid they can be or how obsessed with boundaries they might be, people think like, oh, that means they're probably going to be in an abusive relationship. And it's not true. I just want to get that out there in the world that any attachment style can have abusive characteristics. And so we should be aware of that in all the things. But a fearful person is just, they're already taking a big enough risk you knowing their name. So it's harder for them to go deeper and it will take longer and it will take lots of time and respect and it's a slow burn to connect for a fearful person. An avoidant person, it's also a slow building up trust, proving that you're going to show up. An anxious person just wants you there. And a secure person is hoping that you will because they're going to. So, yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense.
Hey, pod classers! Thank you for joining us today. I just want you to know that we have other pod classes that you can go check out. One is What's the Word? Asking questions like, well, who actually wrote the Bible? How much is God and how much is people? And why do people interpret it so differently? And how did it become a book? What do I do with it now? Or who is Jesus, right? What are all the different aspects of Jesus? We have some great conversation partners on that. Go to www.cldm.online or melissaberry.com and go check out our other podclasses. And when you do, and like this one, hit like, leave a comment, share, subscribe, follow, do all the things because it totally helps us out when you do. All right, now back to our pod class.
You say avoidant and you also say fearful. Are you
Hmm.
using those terms interchangeably?
No, those are two different styles. So an avoidant person elevates themselves above everybody else, and
Mhm.
a fearful person is I'm not worthy, you're not worthy, if that kind of makes sense. So an avoidant person is I'm good, I can take care of myself,
Mhm.
I can buy myself flowers, I do what I want, and
Is
you,
that the
I
dismissive
don't really
avoidant?
need you. You're welcome to yes, yeah, and you can come along for the ride, but I don't really need you here. A fearful person is, I can't buy myself flowers, and you won't give me flowers, and the whole world's
Got
on
it. Okay.
fire, and I'm just going to sit in a puddle of sludge and hide because why am I here? Like, connection is just so hard. And part of that is the message that a fearful person took on when they were growing up and
Hmm.
developing their own attachment style is that I'm not worthy and nobody
Okay.
is.
So
That
so
nobody is worth
fearful is a
anybody's time.
high avoidant, high anxiety one.
Mhm.
Okay. That's
Yes.
just what I was
Yeah.
clarifying. Yeah, back to you,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this in marriage now, and I was
Mhm.
thinking the dismissive avoidant. Is this the one where the the partner, the spouse feels stressed and so finds everything to do other than being at home?
It could be. Yeah. And that the whole thing is that I can take care of myself. Or it also could be that that person doesn't ask for help with house tasks, that maybe they're feeling overwhelmed by how much work there is to do in the home, especially if you add tiny humans into the mix and it's more than adults living with another adult, that it's two people trying to help tiny humans grow up. An avoidant, dismissive person will likely not ask for help. And then that either means that they will just do it all themselves and grow with a resentment towards the other person, or they won't do it either. And then everyone's like, well, why can't we live in a way that feels comfortable? And it's because nobody's getting stuff done. But because avoidant people don't ask for what they need, they just do it themselves or they decide to live without it.
So what about because I hear this a lot. This
Hmm.
actually, in fairness, I'm not describing my home situation. My husband would be like, that's not my situation. But what about the when there's stress at home, conflict,
Hmm.
and one spouse say works all the time, like 6, 7 days a week, and would say it's because I don't want to go home. Which
Hmm.
one is that? You're avoiding conflict, you're avoiding the situation at the house.
Hmm.
You still want to, you know, but you're working,
Hmm.
you're providing for the family, so it's like an excuse.
Hmm. Honestly, it could be any of them. It could be the anxiously attached person too. And I think sometimes we think, well, the anxiously attached person wouldn't avoid their partner. Like, why would they avoid their spouse if if they're in the I love you, I hate you, don't leave me, if they're going to do whatever they can to maintain connection. But part of that is if an anxiously attached person feels like they can do nothing to work on the connection, they will just seek satisfaction from a connection elsewhere. And that doesn't necessarily mean an affair. It does, but it does mean I'll just spend my time with other relationships. I'll spend if maybe life is going really well at work. I have really great people who tell me I'm all the things that they could ever need me to be. And so I'll just stay there because I'm loved there. I'm not feeling loved at home because conflict is hard and scary, or it's permeating our relationship and we don't know how to address it. We've never taken the time to do it. We don't have the tools to do it. So it could be honestly any of them. Even a secure person might go through a season of I just need some time and space. So if that, I hope that kind of helps. It's really not one or the other. It's we all can do it, and it's more likely to be an unhealthy attachment style. But yeah,
So same situation because this happens a lot.
yeah,
But now describe the person who's just at work all the time, avoiding the house, but they're a dismissive avoidant. You just described anxious. What would dismissive avoidant reasons
yeah.
be?
A dismissive avoidant person probably just honestly would do the same thing, but not think of how it's affecting their family. That it's really I'm in some ways I'm at work because this is where I feel comfortable and I take care of me and this is where I'm going to be. And this is, if a dismissive avoidant person is feeling like they're getting their wins outside of the home, that's where they'll stay. And it's because coming home doesn't give them what they want. A dismissive avoidant person prioritizes themselves, their needs, their interests, their wants, because that's who they can rely on. I can only rely on me. That's what the world has told me. And so if home is either asking too much of me or trying to give me too much, that's the other part with dismissive avoidant. If you're investing too much in me, that makes me nervous. And I'm going to step back and spend more time in other places because relationship is vulnerability and vulnerability costs me something, even if it also gives me something. And a dismissive avoidant person just has a hard time with the relationship exchange, if that makes sense. So they might be staying home just because it's easy to just take care of myself there or at work because it's easy to not interact with other people there.
Okay, Sarah, we've heard all this bad news. Yes, we're all screwed up. Thank you very much. Can you tell us, uh, eh, people who have these attachment styles, are they stuck? Because it sounds like you said this is something that's formed in the early years, and that's how they've
Mhm.
learned to basically navigate the world of other human beings, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
is there something that can be done about it? And if so, can you help us figure out how to go about that?
Yeah, the good news is that God is a God of redemption, which totally makes me really emotional because I do think lots of people walk in the world feeling like they can't make positive connections or that they only attract negative relationships or that I screw relationships up all the time. I'm going to be alone or I'm going to be unhappy and unsafe my whole entire life. And the good news is that God made us in a really unique way where we can heal each other. Uh, and I did not think that was going to make me cry, but I love that part about how God literally wired our brains. So, a big part of it, there's the science part, and then there's the soft, good feeling counseling part. So, the science part is our brains have the ability to be neuroplastic, which means they can always grow, they can always change. One of the reasons attachment styles are developed so early in life is your brain is most neuroplastic when it is growing 0 to 3. And then I would argue again, whenever you go through those awkward life phases, 8 to 10, 13 to 17, 20 to 24, like there's windows of time that we navigate life in different ways because our brain is developing in different ways. But in that early stage, your brain is Play-Doh. It can do all sorts of cool, crazy, unique things. And we think when we become adults that our brains don't do that anymore. And I think we oftentimes think that because by the time we become into adulthood and we're entering some of these relationships that we're talking about, we've learned different skills. We've had different experiences. Our brain actually has information to base its choices off of, but it's still developing. It's still gleaning information and figuring out what to do with it. So the good news is because of that neuroplasticity, we can build different neurological connections that helps our brain hang in there when relationships get tough. It also helps our brain look at someone who has similar interests to me and it's like, "Oh, I would hang out with that person. Oh, would they hang out with me? I think they would. Maybe they will. I'll give it a shot." It also is a part of our brain that can look at someone and it's like, they're so different than me, and I'm now curious about them, and I want to learn more about them, and I want to understand them. So that's the good science part of it. The other part of it is, again, that God created us for connection. And so even if I am in that fearful, avoidant space, even if I'm in like a withdrawn space, even if I'm in an anxious spot, I'm always seeking. There's a part of me. It might be buried deep, but there's always a part of me that is seeking connection. And if we can find someone with a secure attachment style, or if we can find someone who's just as interested in pursuing a secure attachment style, we can heal each other. We can totally help each other learn to kind of fight against our fears. We can learn that the message the world gave us about how others are not safe or not caring, that's not correct for everyone. Maybe it's true for some, but not for everyone. So I think sometimes people think if I'm in an insecure attachment style, that means I have to find a secure person to save me. And that's a very anxious, attached perspective of stuff. Um, it helps. It totally helps if one person in the relationship or one person in the community has a secure attachment style. They can serve as an anchor in the relationship. It's a lot of work, but they can do it, and they will do it because a securely attached person believes I'm worthy, you are worthy, therefore we can be a thing. We can do life together. So a securely attached person has an easier time being an anchor for an insecurely attached person. But if an anxious person, oftentimes this is what I have found in counseling a lot, an anxious person and an avoidant person will they tend to find each other. And I don't know why. There's something about the spectrum of, yeah, I don't need anybody, but okay, you're here, and an anxious person who's like, I love you, I love you, I love you, follow me, like come with me. But those two people, if they decide, okay, we're going to try and see, how do I build trust with you? How do I actually, what's the self talk I give myself when our relationship hits a bump or has a roadblock or goes sideways on us? Part of it is the self talk. The attachment styles have two sides to it. One is how I perceive myself, and one is how I perceive others. And those two things really influence how I connect to other people. So if an anxious person and an avoidant person, or a fearful and avoidant person, if they have enough of a connection with someone that they say, hey, you are worth me taking a risk on, they can help build positive connections and healthy habits that move them towards a secure attachment. The other part, too, to highlight is remembering that we're on a spectrum. If a securely attached person is all the way up in the completely like 100% all in all the time, I would also argue that's an unhealthy attachment style. Like, if we're not questioning the safety of some people and some relationships and some scenarios occasionally in our life, I don't think we're aware of the world that we live in. Like, we're broken people in a broken world with other broken people. So remembering that, if you might feel more often than not, I'm me, glad to be me, and I'm really glad you're you, that probably means that you are a securely attached person. But also, if you're a I'm me, glad that I'm me, and you cause me to pause, but I'm glad you're in the world, that probably means that you might be on the more towards that avoidant relationship element, but not the, because you want the relationship, but more a little bit anxiety and fear of what the relationship could do to you or cause you. That's proceeding in a healthy, secure attachment style still too. Because you're still, I'm valuing you, I'm curious about you, you're causing me to pause, but it's not because I don't value human connection. It's just because I don't know who you are. My brain is seeking a lot of information. So I hope that kind of makes sense too. Sometimes people think we want to be 100% secure, and I would argue that we don't want to be 100% secure, because that means I'm ignoring every hard thing about humanity. But if I can fall on that spectrum and I can give grace to the people I'm doing life with that might fall in different parts of those spectrums, then that helps us to establish healthy connection.
So how do you begin? Like, okay, so there's probably someone listening saying, okay, I see myself, I see my spouse, I see my, person I'm in a relationship with, my friend, whatever.
Hmm.
I see us on this. I see we're having a struggle with this. Now what? Okay, I
Yeah.
want to get more on the healthy side than
Hmm.
the, anxious, avoidant, fearful side. What do I do?
Yeah. I think the greatest tip that we can kind of build on is probably just making bids for connection with each other. And that bids for connection is something from the Gottman Institute, from John Gottman. I think I've mentioned him before. He's a relationship guru. He's studied relationships of all kinds for forever, but especially focusing on partnered or married individuals. And he talks a lot about the value in the bid for connection. And that basically means I'm reaching out to you with something that's asking you to connect with me, and how you respond can help me heal. So I come home and I'm like, oh, it was a crazy hard day at work. If the other person says, yeah, every day at work is hard, like you work in a stressful environment, that's kind of dismissing my bid. That's kind of being like, yeah, I don't really need to hear from you. If I come home and say, today was a really hard day from work, and my person says, it was another hard day, what happened? You're reaching back. So bids for connection is me reaching out and you reaching back. If we can reach back to each other, we can honor the risk that came with sharing my thought, my feeling, whatever is bubbling up. It also helps us understand each other. And if I feel understood and I feel heard and I feel seen, that helps me feel loved, which helps build a bridge for connection. The other good news is it's that element of like that neuroplasticity piece, as if you do it for me and I feel how good that feels, especially if an avoidant person might have a harder time with this, they have to be really conscious of it. But I want to do it back for you. It's kind of like if someone like scratches your back and you're like, oh, that feels so good. And you're like, well, let me like, like I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours. Like the reason we say that is because it's a mutually like beneficial thing. It's bids for connection can be really similar and they can be little. They don't have to be big, intense things. A bid for connection could be, I'd love an iced coffee right now. Like, oh, do you think we should go get one? Like, yeah, that sounds great. How about we go for a walk? Great. Love it. It's anytime we reach out for someone, if they can reach back, that can help be little bridges that kind of help build the connection. The other piece that's big for making connections with other people is expressing gratitude for the other person. Just naming one thing a day that you like about that person. And it could be, they have great style. Their outfits make me smile. It could also be you take out the trash every day. I know that's just a task that has to happen, but you do it every day. And I'm so grateful for it.
I
It
like
could
that.
be, yeah,
That's a easy.
it's so easy. Yeah. And if you
That's a
start with
good start.
gratitude, yeah, if you start with gratitude, that lends itself to making those bids for connection. And if those two things are happening, if both people are doing those things, the connection will happen, the trust will build, and then the opportunity to be vulnerable and connect more intimately and better will come up. It takes time, but all relationships are worth taking time. So, yeah, I think those are, no matter what relationship is, that's a great spot to start. Also, put this sucker down and not just down, like
What is that sucker for those listening?
the cell phone. Your phone is one of the greatest hindrances to your connection to your person. So if they come in, they're like, I had a hard day at work, and the first thing you do is start looking at your phone and typing and texting someone else, be like, oh, just a minute, I'll be with you. It's no, whoever's on the other side of your text message can wait. The person who is with you, that's where you have to be. So I think of the really, really quick recap, practicing at least one thing of gratitude for that person every day, bids for connection, reaching out and reaching back, and taking away distractions, which for many of us is our personal technology. So if we do those three simple things, even just one of those things every day, it can help us.
We're going to try this at dinner.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm already thinking about how I'm going to use it today, and I love bids for connection. There's something exciting about it that makes me feel like making a bid in a Monopoly game or some other thing. So bids for connection and responding. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Yeah.
It's been very insightful having you here talking about attachment styles.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope it's helpful for others.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to give it a try tonight.
Sweet.
Wait, don't swipe. Don't go away. Whatever you're going to do, stay right here. I have a blessing I want to pray over you. Before that, I just want to give a special shout out, a thank you to those people who are helping contribute monthly or even with a one-time gift to our ministry. Do you know it costs us about $100 to make each pod class? Yikes! So we couldn't do this without your help. So I want to just thank those people. Even if you're giving your $5, you're giving your $10, you give a one-time $100 gift, it really helps a lot. Thank you so much. Now for that prayer of blessing. Lord, I just want to pray for this one listening right now. I ask that you would comfort them. You would show them that they are not stuck, that there can be change, that there can be healing. Show this one that you are a God of fresh starts, and this day is a fresh start, and that gratitude, even just giving thanks, is the beginning of positive change in our lives, Lord. And you are all about teaching us gratitude and thanksgiving. So, Father, I thank you for this one listening. I thank you for their life. Father, I pray that you would reveal to them something to be grateful for today and give thanks to you for. And also, Lord, help them at the people they are involved with friends, significant others, children, spouses, relatives. Help them to see what their attachment styles are, and then help them to lean into loving others, loving themselves because you made them and they're worthy of love. God, I just pray healing over this one. In Jesus' name, amen. All God's people said, amen. Go stick that in the comments, a great big ol' amen, and tell us what you liked or learned about this session. Hit like, subscribe, share, all those things. All right, friend, I'll see you next time.